Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. I am looking out over quite a lovely sight. All the rain has made the hills really green, and I have a nice view of the 163, and I don't know what else is out there. Um, yeah, I just wanted to give you an update on how this week is going. Tuesday, I got admitted, was here at 8 o'clock for an appointment with Dr. Xavier. It was a pretty frustrating day because my room over in the hospital wasn't ready, so we had to wait for multiple hours, and then there was all this miscommunication about my chemo bags, which were actually here at noon, but none of the nurses knew that, so they didn't access my port until like 3:30, and then it was really painful for some reason, and felt all stingy and weird, so they had to do a chest x-ray and then this flow test to make sure that the catheter in there is still going where it needs to, because otherwise they could be like, if there was something wrong, which thankfully there wasn't, the chemo would be going like into my tissue, which would be a very big problem. So better safe than sorry, but the day was really long and the chemo bags finally got hung at like 6:30, so I was pretty tired and fighting back tears a couple times of just like being poked and prodded uncomfortably, and they have to check for MRSA, and this giant swab thing she shoved, like, it felt like it was going up in my brain. I know that sounds really dramatic, but I was just like leaning away, like, make this stop, oh my gosh. Anyway, so that was kind of a rough go, but I think now we're kind of anticipating the first day being a little bit rough, so it's better, I guess, to expect it or something. I don't know. Anyway, I also had a CAT scan done on Tuesday while I was down in interventional radiology for them figuring out all this port stuff. And great news is that after only 2 rounds of chemo, I have already had a 50% reduction in my tumor sizes, which is really, really encouraging. And we're not even halfway through yet, so that's really great. And something to be celebrated, and just praising the Lord for the fact that Zena's doing her job. And I have been just feeling a lot better. I mean, I'm really exhausted today because she was beeping like every hour and a half last night, and so I'm feeling real tired. But what do I have to do but nap? Not a lot. So, yeah. So anyway, I'm really encouraged by that, and Dr. Xavier was really pleased to see that much impact just after the 2 rounds. So that was good. I wanted to share with you one of my musings because that's what I do. I had a visit yesterday from the chaplain from Mount Miguel, which is where my mom works. And I have maybe met him once, but I'm not super familiar with him. But he was saying, you know, it seems like you're doing really well with all of this and handling it well and really hopeful. And obviously when you're the director of Camp Hope America, the word hope has a little bit more of a kind of buzz to it than I think for a lot of people it does. So I was thinking about hope, and with our campers, for those of you that don't know, with our campers we administer what's called a hope index, and it measures resiliency and grit and zeal and all kinds of other things. So the hope scale is based on the hope theory, which is essentially the science of hope. So in our normal society and culture, we use hope like, oh, I hope it doesn't rain tomorrow, or, you know, I hope you get an A on your test. And with the science of hope, those kind of statements aren't actually hope, because true hope needs to have agency, which is the willpower and motivation, and also a pathway. So seeing a goal, having the oomph to get there, and then actually having a path to get there. And so with something like, oh, I hope it doesn't rain tomorrow, I don't have any control over that. Therefore, that's a wish. That's not hope at all. And I was telling this chaplain yesterday, and this all kind of just came out while I was verbally processing. I said, you know, I actually feel more hopeful now than I have in a really long time. And he was talking about the importance of like visualizing health and wellness, and I'm like all about that. But before, when there was no nameable issue, there was no pathway, because it's like, well, if there's not a target, how do I know where to shoot? And so it just kind of made me realize that having a cancer diagnosis has been one of the most encouraging and hopeful things that has happened to me in a long time, because now I do have a pathway, and that pathway is Xena, and that pathway is the ketogenic diet, and that pathway is inviting the Lord into this process and praying for healing and praying that Xena does the work that she's meant to do, and just focusing on the things that are in my control and trusting God with the things that are not in my control. So it was cool just to think like, man, who would have thought that this diagnosis would be the thing that makes me actually feel hopeful? And I had wrestled with that a lot over the last couple years at camp, specifically talking to kids about, hope is believing in yourself, believing in others, believing in your dreams. And I would think to myself like, oh, I don't feel very hopeful. And I'm the director of Camp Hope America. That feels like, yikes, that scared me. That seems pretty hypocritical. But then now that being diagnosed with gray zone lymphoma has increased my hope significantly, because it really is all about having a pathway. And if there's no way to get somewhere, then no matter how great the goal is, it doesn't really matter. It's just a pipe dream and something pretty to think about. And this finally doesn't just feel like, oh, someday I'll be healthy. This feels like, no, I'm getting there. Like, I'm making the steps right now, and I feel really encouraged by that. So anyway, that's the science of hope for you. And Snyder's Hope Theory is super, super interesting stuff. And something that is interesting, I think, even for those of you who aren't struggling with big health things, but you have goals in your life. And one of the most empowering things that we talk about in the hope world is like, okay, what's something that you want to accomplish, any kind of goal, and then making an action plan and saying, okay, this week I am going to take this step towards this goal, and telling someone about it, because that's the biggest thing. If we keep all of these like dreams and hopes that we have to ourselves, we don't encourage other people to dream and hope for their lives and their futures, but B, when it stays inside of us, we have no accountability, because then there's no one that's going to check in and be like, hey, I know that you really wanted to like get certified in this particular specialty. Like, have you applied for that program yet? No one's asking you those questions if you don't share those things. So that is just something for you to think about, is like, what is a goal that you have, and who is a safe person that you can share that with that isn't going to think you're totally bonkers? But maybe they do. Maybe we're all totally bonkers. But what is one step that you can take toward that? So my goal is to get back on the ketogenic diet, because I forgot to order dinner last night and they just send the default, which is not that great of food just generally, but they sent me a bag of gluten-free, dairy-free, egg-free chocolate chip cookies. And I was alone in here and I was like, I can't say no. And they were so good. But my goal is to get back strictly on keto, because I feel so much better when I'm doing it. And I'm going to be doing some kind of writing today on reminding myself why I'm doing that, because I think when the pathway to our goals is scattered with hurdles and rocks and things to jump over, it's really easy to give up on those and be like, whatever, I don't really care about that goal that much anyway, so I'll just let it go, or settle for something that's the step down from that. But of all the times in life, this is not a time that I want to settle for just being cancer-free. I want to be cancer-free, and I want to feel healthy, and I want my tissues to be spared, and I want to walk out of this process having a pretty good handle on my immune system, which I think is possible. And that's one of those things that is partially in my control. So I'm going to do some writing on Aikido because I want to kill cancer, Aikido because I want to be healthy, Aikido because my body matters, and Aikido because my life matters. And this is about that. This is about life, and pursuing that with all that I have in me right now. So I did just turn keto into a verb, which is fine. I feel great about it, but that's what I'm going to be working towards this week, and the app is really helpful, and just hold some great accountability. So anyway, that's what's going on in this neck of the woods. If you are a praying person, you can pray for a quiet chemo pump tonight. 2 nights, rough nights in a row is like, I'm pretty wiped out, but yeah, praying for Zena to do her thing. We've had some time setbacks, so I'm hoping to try and get out of here on Saturday evening. Dr. Xavier is hoping to get me out before the sun sets, which would be awesome, and may or may not be possible. We shall see. But speaking of hope, if that's the hope, the pathway is speeding this chemo cart up, which is a definite possibility. So anyway, that's what's going on. I hope that you guys are having a really good week, and thank you for all of you that went to Philippi's and all of you who have supported Mike and I financially and through prayer. We are completely blown away at how loved we are and supported. And watching like the Facebook Live videos from that event, I just was like, how in the world did I get to this place in life of like being so loved and virtually surrounded by people who I adore and who adore me, and I'm just really humbled and blown away. So thank you for your encouragement and for smiling into the camera at Philippi's. That was really fun for Mike and I to get to see, even though we weren't able to be there. So anywho, we love you guys a lot. Mike has slept at home last night, so it was like one of us needs to be rested, and it's not going to be me. So he's on his way pretty soon. But yeah, we're really thankful for you, and just, yeah, we're glad to have such an amazing army of prayer warriors and food bringers and financial supporters and people who are encouraging us in this journey. And we're learning a ton in so many different ways about trusting God for who He is as a healer and who He is as a comforter, and learning how to love each other well and learning how to love ourselves well. Not to mention all of the stuff about cells and cancer and T regulatory cells and all that stuff. So anyway, yeah, that's what's going on. We're both right now feeling ultimately thankful for this really hard journey, because we're learning things that there's no way we would have learned in any other situation. So we're trying to soak that up and just say, like, thank you, Lord, that you're using this, and this is not void of purpose, because nothing ever is. If we choose to just say, okay, use me here in the hospital, use me here at my job, use me here wherever, in this restaurant that I'm dining in or whatever. So yeah, we're learning a ton and really thankful to get to share in that process with you. And yeah, that's all. Ramble. Love you guys so much, and I will probably leave you another video in a couple days. And yay for 50% decrease. Woo! Halfway to cancer free. Love you guys.